Facebook announced it will let users access more of the personal data the social network gathers on them, the same information that's used to attract advertisers. For more on what this could mean for Facebook's advertising business, we turn again to our Corey Johnson out in the newsroom. Corey?
Hey, look, Emily, the biggest question for Facebook, the biggest of them all, is how much are advertisers willing to pay to be on Facebook, and how do they view the company and Facebook itself as a platform? Jeffrey Hayzlett, marketing expert, one-time CMO of Kodak, joins me from San Diego. Jeffrey, good to see you. When marketers look at Facebook, what do they see?
Well, first of all, they see a place where they can actually get a lot of the services and interaction for free. You know, really, you're talking about a small versus large when you talk about Facebook, because most of the advertisers going to Facebook, a little over $3 billion last year, $5 billion this year, is really small business. The large business guys haven't been there, and where they're going, they're actually entering into conversation, so they're getting a lot of the stuff for free.
Well, it seems like the small businesses have an easier platform on Google targeting people who are about to transact in some way. I use the example of, you know, you're walking by a marina, you might be interested in boats, but if you're trying to fix your boat engine and you search for how do I fix my boat engine, that's a better advertiser for a guy selling boat parts.
Yeah, but the other thing that person's going to do is ask his friend, and that's what Facebook has really learned, is they've been able to use that friend sourcing, that network of friends, and that's usually what happens. Somebody's going to reach out to their friend and ask their friend. So it's about getting in front of their friends, and that's a big part of it. You know, you did have some big brands spend some money on Facebook this last year, but only about 15% of their digital spend when you look at companies like old Ford and Scott Trade and some of the bigger ones that are doing a lot of online spending. So you can argue a little bit on both, but you're going to start seeing some of those bigger brands start moving more and more. But the advertising has to get easier on Facebook. It's a very crude tool right now.
What do you mean?
It's tough to do. I mean, look, I've got my own book out there, and I'm selling it, and I do very well with Facebook, and I use it. I'm a small business trying to be big business, like a lot of others. But to use the tools themselves, Facebook has to approve my ad. You know, before I can even place the ad, they've got to look at it and make sure it's okay. I mean, who likes that?
I wonder also, when you look at this company, you look at the results out of Google today, when you see, you know, the last couple quarters, Google's had really tremendous growth in the number of clicks. And you know, we just had a guest on a minute ago who was suggesting it was because advertisers are finally really turning to Google en masse. Is that what's going on out there? Are the big advertisers embracing online in ways that they never have before?
Well, they have, but I think more importantly, they're actually embracing mobile, and you're starting to see more of the searches, over half, I believe, are now going onto mobile devices, and that's really where they're seeing. And now the ads are showing there. I don't think people are necessarily seeing them, but they're actually going there, and it's yet to be proved that it works on the mobile phone. But yeah, they are moving there, and we've really made that, you know, that transition from what I would call a broadcast market to a narrowcast market. You know, no offense, Corey, in the television world, but really what people are trying to do is, you know, really get to where those consumers are, where the people are. I call it the Sam Kinison School of Marketing. You know, go to where the food is.
Sam Kinison, you're going to date yourself. I'll pretend to not know who that is, and I won't scream at the camera right now. But when an advertiser is looking at Facebook or looking at spending more online or something online for the first time maybe, are they looking at it as Facebook versus Google? Is that the right comparison we should be making?
Not yet. I really think you're looking at two different kinds of horses. One's a one-trick pony. Now, I think Facebook's done a great job of capturing more personal data, and I'm talking about very intimate data as opposed to behavioral kinds of things that Google's doing about where you go and what you're looking at. I think those are two different types of things. Now, I think Google's trying to do that with Google+, and yet they have 100 million people, but it's not engaged yet. If they're able to click that on and get it engaged, I think they're going to be massively bigger than they are. But you look at the valuations. I saw a note today that said Facebook might be $60 billion, yet Google, look what the great returns they've got, are only at $80 billion in valuation. So there's a lot more that has to be done, but it's really about two different things, and Google has to get more personal in that data. And when they do that, it's going to be an even bigger gold mine than they've created already.
Yeah, it's an interesting time for these guys. I also wonder, you know, a lot of the talk about privacy in Facebook is about people, it's sort of on a consumer level. From a business side, advertisers presumably love the information they're getting about the people they're advertising to. Is that the perception out there among advertisers?
Absolutely. You do love that information because you're really getting good, not only behavior data, but real personal stuff about what people are thinking about and recommending to others and so forth. There is a little bit of a creepy feeling, though, amongst advertisers, a little worried, because, see, Facebook has made a lot of changes over the last year, and they keep making these changes, what I would tend to call willy-nilly. And so is there anybody over there with some gray hair that's actually putting in policies to say, this is where we want to go and be like a real business? You know, we've seen some big mistakes from other companies like Groupon and others who really didn't have what I call those senior executives. And I think Facebook's going to need to get that to make sure they don't make the same mistake. Otherwise, I think they're going to face some scrutiny from, say, the U.S. government, like a lot of other companies have done.
All right. I can tell you, surely there are no gray hairs at Facebook. But Jeff Hayzlett, appreciate it. Chief Marketing Officer of Kodak, once upon a time, and marketing expert always. Emily?
Thanks, Corey.